Okay. The dog ate them. They're not insured. The new insurance will insure.
Oh, no.
So I go to Costco and they're the same hearing aid for $1,500. I said, I might just buy it for $1,500. And they go for $1,500. Why am I gonna get the insurance $3,500?
Okay, we're on and
We're
being
live.
recorded.
Yeah.
By the way, we're there.
Live, South Seas House.
I mean, I could stop recording. We're still being, I know.
Thanks. What is your main game?
Coletti. Coletti.
Oh, really? That's my last name. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
Good.
Good. My name is Isabel.
Oh, hi Isabel. I can't.
I'm Teresa.
Oh, nice to meet you. My dad is like so happy we're meeting. That's my boyfriend and we're just
Nice meeting you too.
And we are being recorded on YouTube.
Yeah, that's nice. We stream live to YouTube for our meeting.
Oh, great. And I'm Laura. my friend. Yes.
That's a horrible experience.
Yes, very horrible. Actually insane.
So we're going to wait until.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and we organize. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah, just in
Just
case.
in case.
Oh, the trip.
Yes, I'm this. Your phone is not here.
Yeah, okay, right? Sometimes our agenda is very.
Yeah, this could be, whoops, Rita.
Oh,
And on the screen.
So this meeting,
oh, there it is. Yes. Thank you very much.
and what that means is. We got people.
We use technology and we use Zoom, so. And we're on YouTube, so if anybody wants to participate in any way, we try to accommodate it.
So for YouTube, is people are watching, but they can't talk to us.
Interact, yeah.
But if they're on Zoom, they can. Hi, Marina, or is this Steve?
It's Marina.
Hi.
Hi, Laura.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
That's fine, thanks. And it's 2 minutes to 7, and we will likely start at 2 or 3 minutes after 7 because it's just our pattern.
Okay.
Or do you want to get some? I'll let you pick.
Sure.
We have a second before the meeting starts.
Well, yes, actually, I have this. Because I looked it up. But did you, between the last and now, contact anyone, or are you waiting till after?
I'm waiting to.
I didn't do it.
What happened?
Ghost. The lady in the red dress.
Yeah, so I think I was thinking of the word today. Yeah, and. Your father couldn't have I was like, well, what? And so he kind of gave me a high level, and I was so happy that I still had business cards, because not many people on the board don't use business cards. We have a lot of different
Digital.
and stuff, yeah. But I was able to do it, I said, please, send it over, you know, let's see what we can do, because I'm not planning and land use expert. Laura's more, in that area, but
Okay.
so certainly we can.
Oh,
And in a way, my expertise actually has more to do with my work than that.
And real estate, so she.
Hi, Steve. So, it is 7 o'clock, but we're gonna wait 2-3 minutes max, and that's officially start the meeting. Yeah.
I did look at them online, but.
Right.
yeah, so that was just posted randomly on my door, like so random, and so when I called the number, it was like a random scam. Like, we're not at liberty to discuss this, we need to speak to the owner. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, well, who are you? Posted this on my door.
But they
So
may have thought you were.
it was a collections agency, right?
Oh.
So they're like, well, it was Quality Loan Service Corporation, a random corporation.
Well, it's not a random, it's the agent for service. This process,
Okay.
so that's not exactly.
So companies
Random
hire
to-
a service to do this on their behalf, so that way the tenants don't have to deal directly with the owners.
Got it.
So they're
Or in
like
this case, the lender.
the lender, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we're just chit chatting, but this is gonna be we'll be talking about it in a couple minutes, so. Well, in 30 or 40. Other items.
We have 3 things on the agenda, we'll even get.
No problem.
Well, or less.
No.
Or less, or less. Well, these are kind of simple things.
Okay.
I know, I just said 7:02 is when we're starting, I said 1 more minute, when we watch the clock, it takes longer. Just.
So since we haven't started yet, Teresa, thanks for that email and those documents.
You're welcome, Steve. I understand that you were on the email too long. I just thought I would share it with you guys, so everybody's on the same page, knowing where the
Right.
city is and that.
Right, and we can actually.
It's very
talk-
helpful.
But and under item 6, follow up to previous cases, we can talk a little more about it.
I don't think there's much to talk about.
I understand. I'm just saying. Hi, Donna. Okay, it is 7:02 on May 7th, and I am officially calling the meeting of the United Neighborhood Council Planning and Zoning Committee to. Hi there. And I'm going to share the screen with our agenda. And see how efficient I can be tonight. Okay, so
I'll get them.
okay. So this is our agenda for tonight, and we're just gonna run through it because the first item is welcome, call to order, did do, and the review. First item isn't review of agenda, review of United Neighborhood Council standing rule for committee stakeholder voter participation. So I don't know that there's much to vote on tonight, but there is something. So UNNC, speaking to you, because we have regulars on that side. We are a little different than some neighborhood councils. We appoint the chairs or co-chairs of committees, but we do not appoint their members. Instead, we say that stakeholders who are in attendance at any given committee meeting may participate fully. They can vote, they can make a motion, they certainly can discuss. And so what is a stakeholder? That's what's defined by the city council. The stakeholder is someone who lives, works, owns property, has a child in school, themselves attend school, worships at a church, or otherwise participates through a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, which may have, participates in the community, but with a nonprofit that has an address, brick and mortar within the neighborhood council boundaries. I've probably forgotten something. Maybe on the Friends of the Library, might be Friends of the Seasons, have one group like that. So we go through and everybody introduces themselves and says whether or not they're stakeholders. So again, I'm Laura Myers, I live in Angeles Vista, and I am a stakeholder.
I'm Teresa Masonette. I'm on the board of UNNC. I represent the West Adams Avenues State.
Okay, I'm Isabel Perez. I live in West Adams and I'm a stakeholder. Okay.
Eduardo Vasquez, I live in Santa Monica, out of state.
Okay, then. Online, Steve.
I'm Steve Peckman. I live in Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder and I will vote on anything that we're voting on.
Okay, Donna.
I'm Donna Jones, West Adams Avenues, and I am a stakeholder.
Okay, so I can't see everybody, but I know that Michael Kimbrough.
Hi, Michael Kimbrough, UNNC board member. I also live in the Avenues and stakeholder.
Okay, Marina.
I live in Jefferson Park. I am also a stakeholder.
Hi, Marius.
Hello, I am Marius. I live in Jefferson Park and I'm also a stakeholder.
And hi, Young. You just arrived, but we're doing our introductions. Hello. And you're muted. Yeah, Young, you're muted. There you go.
All right, thank you. Hi, how are you doing?
Fine, we're just doing introductions right now. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I live on West Boulevard between La Brea and Crenshaw off Jefferson, between Jefferson and Exposition. I'm in this meeting, just listening on you guys talking about the land planning. So, Young Summers, my name.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item is review of the agenda for tonight. So after this, the first next thing is general public comments, and that is on items not on the agenda for general public comment. Then case number ZA 2025-2517 NC, which is it used to be a CUP, but non-conforming grocery use in Jefferson Park on Cimarron. Number 4 is a status update related to a TOC apartment building. It's been under construction for a long time on Washington Boulevard at Norton in Arlington Heights. And then we're going to be discussing a foreclosure situation at 3915 West Adams Boulevard, but it's also a generic. We're going to give a little advice that would be true anywhere and discuss it, and then follow up to previous cases. I listed one that has a follow-up, but it'd be follow-up to any of our previous cases. So that is the agenda. I'm going to stop the share and say hello. Who stopped that share? Me? You? Anybody? Say hello to Cheryl and have you introduce yourself and then we're moving on.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Johnson. I live in Jefferson Park.
Thank you. Okay, so is there any general public comment on any items not on tonight's agenda?
Hi, can I talk?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, Young, you can talk, but it's more announcements. So if you're going to discuss your situation, we need to deal with it later.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, well, that's it, that answer. Any general public comments or announcements? Okay, so my only public comment would be that the budget, the city has $1 billion deficit. And no matter how you slice it, the budget's going to be a disaster. Some places or all places. One of the departments that is facing disastrous layoffs is the planning department. They are in the mayor's budget pegged for 190 either layoffs or the elimination of vacant positions. And the net result, if this goes through like it is for the Office of Historic Resources, will only be left with 8 planners for HPOCs. And they will together have to handle 31 HPOCs or more, but at least 31. And that they're already thinking about how do they handle the HPOC meetings, because theoretically, based on the ordinance, HPOCs meet twice a month. And staff is not just showing up to those meetings, but now they're bringing technical staff with them.
Can you, for the people
what is an HPOZ? Historic Preservation Overlay Zones. And why it's pertinent for United Neighborhoods is that we have multiple HPOZs within our boundaries. And so, you know, they don't know how they're going to handle it. There's already discussions. This is not the final decision by City Council. They're also within the planning department eliminating the entire just environmental and justice department, which was an equity initiative. They're eliminating all of it, and they're eliminating the position that deals with the Getty for Survey LA. My hunch is that maybe they'll just ask the Getty to fund that position. Same. Look forward to. Yes.
I know what an HPOZ is. What does the planner do?
The planner's job, where we don't see the planner, is to clear all permits within his or her the HPOZ that he or she staffs. Every single one of them requires clearances. There's multiple cases, helping applicants prepare their cases for the board meetings. And then there's the board. So every HPOZ has a board. And under the ordinance, those boards are to meet twice a month. And if they can't meet timely, that means certain kinds of cases have a short time frame that they have to be, the decision has to be made in a very short time frame. So if the board can't meet, then the case is delegated back to the planner. So it doesn't, so the planner's workload increases, but also the community wouldn't have a chance to weigh in if there's no public meeting. So, you know, it's all the way around, it's kind of problematic. You know, because the staff person actually has a lot of work. Okay, I didn't mean to have a conversation on this, but let's go ahead, Steve. And
Well, I just wanted to add a couple of points to what you were saying, Laura. One is that I believe CD10 has more HPOZs than any other council district in the city. It also includes the second largest HPOZ in the city, which is Jefferson Park. And the Jefferson Park HPOZ OHR response has been notoriously slow since the beginning. A lot of the applications that go in are reviewed solely by the planner and reviewed by the planner. And that means that projects that people want to do will be slowed down even more. So it's liable to have a tremendously negative impact on people's ability to comply with HPOZ rules and to work on their homes. So this is a serious issue.
Right, but on the other hand, I don't see how the outcome is going to be seriously different. Meaning, maybe another position gets saved, maybe two, but not all of the positions can be saved, because the ramifications for so many departments across the city are just as serious.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that was my not 1 minute announcement. Sorry. Tomorrow night at the Environmental Committee, we are going to go through, part of the agenda will be how to comment on the budget. So we're going to bring how to do public comment, not how to do community impact statements. Well, it's not that easy. I mean, you have to go to, anyway, so if anyone's interested, you may attend on Zoom. Teresa's laughing because she finds it easy, or?
Well, I know, I just wondered why that discussion is happening on environmental. It could have been happening here.
Because I didn't think to put it on this agenda a day later. I'm working with Elizabeth on another agenda.
Okay.
Right, and for environmental committee, the sustainability and climate change, I mean, there's as many serious cuts in that neck of the woods as there are in the planning department. So, but the point is, tomorrow night we will go through how to do, if you want to make individual comments, that's all. Okay. The next item on the agenda is case number CA 2025-2517 NC at 2609 South Cimarron Street, a conditional use permit to conditional use to permit the continued use and maintenance of that little teeny non-conforming grocery store on, in the R3 zone. This is a case that we dealt with in 2011. And approved. It's a long-standing little neighborhood grocery store. It's not the exact same case. See, it's got a 2025 number, but that's because the zoning code has changed. So my question for y'all is, do you want me to bring up the application, or do you? I've got a lot of folks from Jefferson Park here.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, so
they're asking to continue to operate as they have been.
Correct. No
So,
change, just
yeah.
continuation.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add regarding the application is that there are 2 or 3 pages of neighbors' signatures in support of their application, which
You did look at the application.
I read the whole application.
Well, that's
and
better than me.
it's
So
a
I brought the
demonstration.
whole application.
Well, but the application is just to continue operation as they have been. My
Right.
point is that the liquor store at Jefferson in Arlington had no neighborhood support.
Right.
Right. And this grocery store has tremendous neighborhood support in comparison. I'm interested in what Marius and Marina have to say about it. They live in the neighborhood too.
Can I go ahead? I'll speak. Yes, this grocery market has been operating for quite some time without any incidents or any problems. They've been very much a part of the community. Many neighbors shop at it without any incident, any problems, and I am in full support of making sure that the market continues to operate.
Okay. And Marina, do you have thoughts?
Yes, this is a case where the small grocery store is actually an asset to our community and to our neighborhood. It's used a lot by our neighborhood. We have to remember that not everybody drives in our neighborhood, so it serves a very important function. So I'm not surprised that it got this overwhelming community support. It's a fixture and a really vital fixture in our neighborhood, and it contributes to the overall feeling and quality of our community here.
So do we want to have a motion?
Yes. Steve, can you make the motion, please?
Or Marina,
Sure.
or whoever.
I'm happy to. Maybe Marina and Marius will feel it's appropriate to second it. So I would move that this committee recommend to the governing board that it support the ongoing operations of this grocery store per the submitted application.
Second.
I second it.
Well, Marius beat you.
Oh,
Marius
okay,
still
good
is
for you.
second. Okay.
Sorry, Marina.
So everyone is eligible to vote.
So
So, to vote either,
Young can't vote.
oh, and Young, you cannot vote, sorry. So, either raise your virtual hand or show us your hand. How many people are in favor? My hand's up.
Donna, Michael?
3, 4. Donna's in favor, Michael hasn't voted.
I can't find the button.
Oh. So what's your vote?
There it is.
There you go. Okay, there we go. Any opposition? I'm guessing have nobody left. Okay, so this motion has passed and we will take it to governing board for the June meeting.
Do we know when their hearing is?
So this application just came in a week and a half ago.
So
We have some time. I don't know if the hearing will be waived. It's possible.
okay, especially since they have so much support when they look.
And it's a approval of a non-compliance, but I will check with the planner as to that.
Okay.
Okay, but it just popped up.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Donna, are you asking a question now? Or is your hand just still up from voting? Down it went. Okay, next item is a status update regarding the construction, that's the building under construction. The case number was DIR 2019 and then a long string of letters. at 3827 West Washington Boulevard. So that what that tells us is how long the case has been going on. So they started construction halfway through COVID, and it's been really very slow.
It's 10?
10, well, it's not really 10th Avenue, it's north. But yes,
Yeah, but.
yeah,
it's
so one
over
edge,
10th and
and then
makes it look- yeah.
zigzag, it's on, yes, on Norton and Washington.
Yeah.
And I did, let's see if I can find it. They are, it's very slow, but it's not non-existent. It does appear that they're slowly but surely building and going through the inspection process. So the person who had asked us to put this on the agenda may be watching on YouTube, I don't know. But I wanted to move this out of the way because I can't see the arrow. What I'm trying to do is pull down, this is the whole permit thing, but as you may be able to see, when I pull this, where, there, still won't be here. Oh, there we go. I see my arrow now. You know, they've been working 23, 2024.
Is there an issue with this project?
We had a question about why is it taking so long? It doesn't seem that anything has been done, but in point of fact, they've been in inspection, having a lot of inspections in the year 2025 through the beginning of April. So it just seems to be slow, but they're working on and off.
Hammering a nail a month or something.
Well, it's a big tall building.
It's a huge project.
Yeah.
And I have to say, in the greater West Adams neighborhood, there are projects that are actually moving slower than this one that are partially built. So I was a little confused as to really what the issue is, and if there is an issue regarding timeline, what we can even do about it.
Nothing. That's why I put it on as a status
Okay.
update, because, you know, honestly, not really something we can do about. There is some graffiti going on the not the building itself, but the scaffolding. But then again, that seems to be happening all over town because no one seems to get arrested for it. I mean, you know, and I don't know that it's cost effective for something under construction for the contractor to remove. I mean, and it's cloth, it's the cloth that's being graffitied, so I don't even know how that would get handled. I mean, the graffiti on your cloth that you've rented, I don't know. Anyway, so that's what that was about. Are there any, I don't think there's, you know.
Is this the one we talked about a couple months ago in Washington, this huge project? We talked about how the neighbors would feel once it was done because it was supposed to be 5 stories tall or something. Is that the same one?
I think that's a different
We haven't
project.
talked about this in years.
Okay.
This is a project that was approved before COVID.
Okay.
I met in person. I mean, and it was, I don't even know if it's gonna be implemented the way they had agreed, but this is the one that has 2 rooftop terracey things, and the next door neighbors on Norton were concerned about the noise, and then the developer, this is back then, we'll just see what happens, agreed to actually put in water features and to make it sort of calming spaces, not party spaces. So we'll see if that really happens all these years later. Steve.
Yeah, so Laura, you did bring up an important point, and I don't know what committee in UNNC should be addressing this, but the uptick in graffiti has been extraordinary. And is there a committee within UNNC that would handle that this committee could refer that concern to, and maybe have the UNNC comment on it to Councilperson Hutt?
Environmental.
Public safety.
It could be public safety, but I will say that if you file a 311 and you forward it to Danielle or Jeff Camp or the new person in CD10, normally they're on it right away.
Yeah, if it's on public realm, yes, I had graffiti on the sidewalk in front of my house, like.
Oh, yeah.
But I called Danielle And 2 days later, it's,
Yes, and the
That's
CD10,
fast anyway.
yeah.
yeah, CD10 has a contract with KYCC and LACC, and both of them, part of that is graffiti removal. So it's easier when you do a 311, and then you can provide Danielle or Jeff or that other young lady the service request number, and then they can
Right.
have that groups right away.
I think that's great. I'll do that. I think there are two issues here, though. One is the actual graffiti, and the other is what it's denoting. Clearly, a lot of the graffiti that at least I'm seeing is gang related. And so I'm wondering if the Public Safety Committee should be looking at this.
Most of it is.
So, yeah, some of it's.
What would you want them to do, Steve?
Well, I'd like to, I don't know, maybe there needs to be a ramping up of police patrols in the neighborhoods. I would hope that the Public Safety Committee would know how to handle it in the same way the Planning and Zoning Committee knows how to handle planning and zoning issues.
Okay.
I see this as really bringing down the quality of the neighborhood, the greater West Adams neighborhood, and certainly within CD10. So I rarely see police patrolling within the neighborhood, right? They patrol the perimeter of neighborhoods on the major streets. They never are driving within the neighborhood. And this is something that's been brought up with LAPD on numerous occasions.
Well,
How do we refer something to another committee?
just show up at the committee, or right now we have two co-chairs, Grace Yu and Karine Alprick. And you can send them an email and ask them to put it on the agenda. But I will tell you, in the avenues, Benny Potter Park is home to two gangs. One of them is Black Pea Stones, which is BPS. And then, I don't know, MS-13, sometimes Laos tags there also. So what has been effective for us is having those things painted over very quickly. Because the longer they're there, then the other gang tags on top of it, and then they come back and they tag, and it becomes a big, mess.
Right.
And especially in the park, that isn't even something that the city 311 controls. The parks have their own maintenance group that has to do it quickly. And regarding the police, I don't know, we talk to our SLO all the time. And we've asked them to do patrols up and down 25th.
They do. I
Yes,
see them.
yes. So I don't know, Officer Whiteman, SLO Whiteman is your SLO, Steve? And you have
I've interacted with Whiteman on a number of occasions, and things happen for a day or two, and then it all disappears.
Right.
So I think there's a difference between individual neighbors contacting Whiteman or the LAPD and having the neighborhood council and the council office get activated over these issues.
No. I cannot agree. I talked to Officer Whiteman on I won't say a daily basis, but we're very close by my choice. And the thing about it is, people do not reach out to the senior lead at all. And then they are upset because they're not doing something for them. You kind of have to build a rapport like you do with anybody else. You have to build a rapport so they understand. When I did need to call them because I had somebody deciding to camp in front of my house, I called him. He came immediately. Another police officer came in another car. You have to build a rapport. And I'm not saying they're not there for everybody, but sometimes you have to reach out to people other than when you want to cry. So the thing about it is with graffiti, even with 311, when you place the request for them to come paint it out or whatever they're going to do, they come right away. I've never had a problem with them coming to take care of graffiti because they know the implication of what that graffiti could mean.
Right.
So the thing about it is, you have neighbors that want to come and wait for you to come home from work, and they want to know, can you call someone? No, let me show you how to dial those 3 little numbers. And it's just a matter of educating our neighbors and our friends because they don't know, they think that you have the password. There is no password.
Right.
You just have to make that call. So, the thing about it is, I've tried to educate the people in my neighborhood, and you know, you get this thing where they say, she knows everything. No, I don't know everything, but I'm trying to learn, you know, and so that's the way it is. It's graffiti is everywhere. It used to be graffiti didn't go into certain neighborhoods, and now they're bored. So I'm let me tag this one. It's a clean wall. But I remember when my son was young, we had a neighborhood watch meeting, and the policeman said, he held up a board that had graffiti on it, and he said, can anybody in this room tell me what this says? And of course, it was like looking at Greek. No offense. He said, let me tell you who can tell you what it says. All of your children can tell you what it says. And if they can tell you what it says, you need to learn how to read it. And so therefore, can I read it to this day? No, but I could call my son and say, tell me what this means. And they think it's funny, but they'll tell you exactly what it means. And sometimes it's just people wanting to say something, say their name or say their group or whatever. But we just have to be open to talking to everyone. And I'm not saying we're not, but sometimes we appear like we're closed off, you know.
So, and then the other issue is there are also the underground artists who are doing artistic expression, we'll just say it that way.
And I expense.
Yeah, or at the building, well, these are private properties. I mean, at the building.
Well, I'm saying our expense because of it's our neighborhood.
Yeah, so anyway, that was the other reason we were contacted, but you know, I think that the real answer is when they finish the construction. And I'd love to know when, but they're, you know, they're not near finished yet. I mean, they're moving very slowly. And I will say that the owner builder on this one particular building, he has owned that property for a very long time. And just took advantage of the TOC ordinance, which transit-oriented community ordinance, which has already been replaced. I mean, that's how long this has been going on. And got it approved, you know, got the whole project entitled, and he was gonna lose his entitlement. And that's why I know he started construction, but it's also been on and off the market, you know,
Wow.
to sell, because that was his whole idea. He had been land banking this property for many years, but he owns a lot. I mean, it's a big deal property. So, you know, so he's building it out, and you know, you better hurry because prices are only going to go up for construction materials at this point. Okay, but we're beating this as a dead horse. So let's move on. The next item, and again, we have a specific situation, but it's also generic. There's a foreclosure situation at 3914 West Adams Boulevard. So this is a situation where we have a small multifamily property that the LLC that owned it, and I'm using past tense because I think the foreclosure now has actually happened. So the tenants got notices on their doors saying that it's being foreclosed, and then other notices that said, hey, we can give you $4,000 if you'll move out, right? I'm paraphrasing properly. And we were contacted by one of the tenants, who's here tonight. But I wanted to put this on the agenda because essentially that's an illegal action. And that is not the way it works in Los Angeles. So, I mean, it's not illegal to foreclose a building that has tenants in it, but it's completely not legal to say, hey, do you want to move out? We'll give you $4,000.
So Laura, can you explain
Yeah.
what is legal?
Yes.
And then we'll talk about the recourse for.
Right. So the city council has adopted quite a number of tenant protection laws in recent years, but one of them has been in place for a very long time, which is a law that establishes what are the relocation fees for tenants, which depends on a number of things, you know, how long you've lived in a place, how old you are, whether or not you're disabled, are there children, what's the household income, and so on and so forth. So the relocation fees vary. But there's definitely a minimum that's close to 10,000 at this point. There's also, what are the legal causes for eviction? And foreclosure is not one of them. So it doesn't mean somebody can't offer a relocation fee, which has to be minimum, and that someone can't take it. But there's no, what they call no just cause to ask someone to leave due to an ownership change, whether the ownership is a sale or a foreclosure. So Steve, you have your hand up.
Yeah, are you done? I didn't want to interrupt.
I'm not quite done.
Go ahead.
I didn't know what part. So the other thing is, more recently, since February 2024, an additional mandate from the housing department on these cash for keys relocations is they have to actually be filed with the housing department. And they are, and that's if a landlord is making an offer to pay a relocation fee and the tenant accepts, that has to be filed with the housing department, and there's a 30-day rescission time frame. So, and the money's supposed to go into an escrow account. I mean, there's all kinds of rules. Now,
Traditions.
well, yeah, I'm going to just say rules and regulations. Now, does everybody follow that latter piece of letting the housing department? I doubt it. But that is what's in the various ordinances. And lastly, for a long time, there's been a tenant harassment or anti-harassment ordinance. Didn't have a lot of teeth. And then they've beefed it up sometime in the last few months to give it a little more teeth. And it's not totally comprehensible, but one thing that can be interpreted as tenant harassment is offering multiple times to give you money to leave. Now, I'm not sure how a landlord makes an offer of money to have you leave. 4,000 is a little low, like a lot, but let's say they're making an offer for 50,000. Is that harassment? I mean, in other words, how do you communicate an offer and worry that it's going to be considered harassment? So there's a little bit in that newest version of the law that's really difficult to understand. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, a couple points. Thank you for that summary. One, if it's foreclosed, then I'm assuming it's now owned by some kind of lender, if not a bank. So,
It's
so
owned by the bank.
Yeah.
It's owned by the bank.
Yes.
It's currently owned by the bank, I believe. I've been getting emails from Coldwell Banker
Coldwell Banker is a real estate company.
So from my understanding, all our communication, he's been trying to call me on the phone and I refuse to talk to him on the phone. I want only email conversation. And so he's like, oh, just call me when you can so we can discuss this. I'm like, okay, can you put your request via email and I'd be happy to review it. So the most recent email was, he was like, I just wanted to let you know, I brought it up. Hi Isabel, hope you are doing well. Let me know when it is a good time to talk on the phone. Were you able to make contact with the former owner? So that was exactly, so which I'm so confused as why he's asking me this, and confirm what we are telling you. So I don't know why I would reach out to him if I have a note.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, it was foreclosed.
Correct.
Okay,
And then
they no longer own it.
Right, so then he
The
goes.
former owner, as far as I could tell, doesn't have a role in this, but
No,
that doesn't really matter anymore.
Hold on, Steve.
So he goes, well, at this point, he's kind of out of the picture now.
Yeah.
So, and no longer has any say on anything regarding the property. Did you have a lease with him, or were you just on a month-to-month basis? Any documentation that you can provide will be helpful. One should have been signed when you moved in. They also, I don't know who they is, but they also wanted me to offer you $4,000 to move out of the property if you would like. Please let me know if that is something that you are interested in. Thank you. And then he puts his name and it just says Coldwell Banker Realty of Southern California.
That's a major.
It's a
So-
real estate company, it's not a bank.
Okay.
Right.
There was Coldwell Banker's not a bank.
Got it.
They likely don't own the property. But I have one question and then a comment, Isabel. And my question is, have you been given an eviction notice or just requests that you accept this move out?
No, so there has been no eviction notice ordered or anything like that, just this email as of right now. So this email was sent about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And then I was waiting for this meeting and making contact with the council and come here. I've never been in a situation like this. I lived at the property for over a year now. I paid my rent on time, no issues, nothing.
My next question, did they tell
How
you?
many people, wait,
No.
if you can hold on, Laura, how many people in your building have received this request?
So there's 3 units. The top unit is vacant. It's been vacant for months now. The property was used primarily with Airbnb and like a rental company. So and I have communication with the one tenant in the front. So it's 3 units and 2 of them had tenants at the time of the foreclosure. I was in the ADU in the back. The gentleman has the bottom unit and then the top unit's vacant. So
And was that vacant unit the Airbnb unit?
they all 3 are Airbnbs. They at one point they were all, nobody has lived there long term.
No, that's not.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I
because
don't-
I'm just gonna say one thing, Stephen, and go back to, because it's so not legal to
Right.
use an RSO property for Airbnb.
Rent stabilized.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my last comment is, maybe it's a question. I don't know if you're familiar with Stay Housed LA, but you may want to contact them.
What
Because that's
is
a group that helps people who have received such notices. And I
Stay
believe they
Housed
can help free of charge.
they do what?
They help free of charge. But I don't know that you need their help.
Okay.
It's a good point, but I feel like you could be on this, so. So here's they can't do what they're doing, but you haven't paid your rent now in May because they never told you who to pay it to. So you need to reply to that email and say, oh, by the way, who am I paying rent to? How do I pay my rent for May? You haven't told me that.
And also, I'd like to know, do you want, you want to stay, right?
I'm not sure at this point. I'm like so freaked out because I had one notice was in January. This has been going on since January of this year. And I'm just so scared to like leave my house sometimes because I live there by myself and like I don't know who's this was posted at 9 p.m. at night, overnight. Okay. So I woke up to this notice, like this is insane. And the landlord or the previous owner, this was all through an LLC. So the person that I was in contact with is nowhere on any legal documentation, like of an owner of this LLC. I don't know who this man is now. So now
I guess I'm just trying to, if the minimum amount is $10,000.
It might be 10,800.
Yeah, do you want the $10,000?
that would be preferred. Yeah, just so I can get out of
And
this
then you can
mess.
leave.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where, if we.
Right, but you don't want to trigger an eviction by not paying
Exactly.
rent.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Right, so, you know, I think you write this is my opinion. I think you write this fella back. And just say, I discussed it with community leaders,
Okay.
you know, so he knows this is not like he's secretly. So my understanding is there's no legitimate reason to evict me. I am willing to negotiate a relocation fee.
Okay.
And it has to be at least the minimum. In the meantime, you haven't informed me where I'm supposed to pay my rent.
Yes.
And put that in writing. You have not informed me where I'm supposed to pay my rent.
Okay.
And that should have been the first thing the new owner did on April 13th, the day after they bought it on the 12th.
So it was
April 12th was the
You
auction.
can
Really?
go to
Let's turn on YouTube.
Yes, okay, great.
Right,
Bring it all.
Yeah,
current, right?
yeah. right, so you paid in April though, right?
No,
Ooh, that's what I said, bring it current.
Yeah,
When was the last time you paid?
Who did you?
I paid the landlord,
When?
for January.
Oh my God, so you haven't
Yeah.
paid in months.
Right, because he hasn't contacted me. I think he like blocked my number, I'm not too sure. But nobody's contacted me, nobody's requested
But
payment.
how do you normally pay?
It automatically comes out and then of my account. It's through like a leasing office or something.
And they never took the money out. But these guys wouldn't know that.
No,
So you just are talking about your May rent.
okay,
I mean, and if you had a security deposit, that's
that's
obviously not.
gone. It's
I
not
would say
goodbye, yeah.
That kiss goodbye, but don't tell them you haven't paid. I mean, unless they ask. I mean, they have
Okay.
only owned it.
But they should
That's
have
April.
records, right?
Yes.
But it was foreclosed, so maybe.
The
things
April
got lost.
12th was the day of the.
Right, but that's when the land foreclosure was bought by this new group, so.
So this notice.
No, it says the date of, oh, that's.
This notice is just an auction notice that was posted on my door. It was a random auction notice. That was posted on my door in January. And then the sale never went through
No,
for
it
some
didn't.
reason. No, it never went through.
It didn't go through until April.
So then
I
another.
think April 12th.
But
Why,
then
I don't know
someone
why
else-
I'm saying
Well,
April 12th.
hold on. So then back in, I believe it was, so after February, March, I was contacted by some specialists to help them avoid foreclosure. And they were trying to gain access to my house, but due to conflict in schedules, nobody was able to accommodate my time. Due to my work schedule and their work schedule.
Okay, I have the deed. I knew I brought something.
I'm gonna ask Steve to talk while you're doing that.
Okay, Steve's got his hand up, and the date of the recording was April 14th.
So two things. One is Coldwell Bank could own it at this point because a mortgage company
No.
can.
Coldwell Banker is a real estate company, Steve, they're not, they have Banker with their
Okay,
name, but they're.
Here, it's up, can you guys see? It's Shell Point that owns it.
Great, whatever, it doesn't matter. Again, I recommend that you contact Stay Housed LA because I think you're going to need some legal support and they will provide you with information and support for free.
Okay, and
And
I agree.
they are the experts in this area in Los Angeles.
Perfect, thank you.
Whatever we provide you is not going to be that level of expertise.
Right,
Yeah.
the main thing I'm saying, and I agree with Steve. So the actual new owner is VMC REO LLC. That's a new one. That's not the name of the one that you were dealing with.
No,
And the servicer is Shelton. And the hired local entity is obviously the real estate agent who has a license in the state of California with Coldwell Banker. So that's the person that you're dealing with, who's been hired, no doubt, by them, not by your former landlord. And you just need to don't mention whether or not the former landlord has pocketed your prior rent. Just mention that in all of this communication, what he's not done is told you where to send your rent for May.
I agree with you, Laura. I would just add, don't tell them
And
how
beyond
you,
that, tell
don't
them
tell
nothing
them
else.
how you previously paid the rent.
Correct.
Just
Yeah.
ask
No,
them
no,
how
no.
you're supposed to
Don't-
pay the rent to the
Okay,
new
Laura,
owner.
just how are you supposed to pay the rent now for May?
I guess my question is, or up for discussion, is do I even need to send them a lease at this point? Because that is.
No.
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 Well, first of all,
Right.
well, your lease has not expired because under LA law, it automatically renews. Again, Los Angeles has a rent control ordinance. So we create leases, that's for sure, but mostly all the lease says is what kind of notice you need to give to the landlord after a stated amount of time. The landlord cannot say your lease is up, you must leave.
Okay,
Because trust me, we wish we could in many cases, if you're a landlord, but we cannot. The power is in the hands of the tenants. So the main reason they probably want to see the lease it is, what are you supposed to pay for? What are they supposed to pay for? What's your rent? You know, what's the amount of your rent? You know, when is it due? Is it due the 1st? Is it due the 15th? I mean, remember, they have no information.
Why
But that
not?
doesn't- Because it's a foreclosure.
And their new
So
owner.
the records could be transferred to the new owner.
Well,
the
if it-
previous owner is willing,
If the
I
previous
would
owner
check
is
out.
willing, why would the previous
Yeah.
owner have transferred that record?
if I'm losing my property, what do I care?
He's like, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And he has not the owner has not, or the owner's representative that I've been in contact with for over a year now, I believe his name was Sal. I haven't heard from him since December or January.
So just keeping in mind, for this to have happened, they went for a long time without paying.
So who have
So-
I been paying? I've been
No,
paying.
You've been paying them, but they weren't
Have not
paying their mortgage.
Right,
That's what,
and as long as you have your paper, you're good.
well, yeah, I mean, but it's irrelevant at this point. What's relevant is
the new
today.
owner.
Right.
Today, but you do need to.
Right. And what's
I mean, if you want it,
3,000.
Even if you and even if you wanna leave, and even if you wanna accept their offer, what you don't want is to be in a position where they could file an eviction, cause that's.
I don't want an eviction. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Steve, what was that organization again? Stay Housed
LA.
LA.
.LA?
Stay
No.
housed LA.
.org probably,
I
.com.
mean, do you need the web address? I'll get you the
Yeah.
web
No,
address.
that's all right. I just want to make sure you know.
You could-
Stay housed.
It's called, it's stayhousedla.org. One
Oh.
word, stayhousedla.org.
Thank you. Have you worked with them before, or how do you know
They're
about
very well known in the city of LA.
Right.
They've handled
I
a
will-
lot of the eviction cases that came up during the pandemic.
Wow,
But the
okay.
main thing is, if what you want is to leave.
Yeah.
Then their primary goal is to help you stay.
They're gonna help you either way.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I'll send you the link to this meeting.
Yes.
I'll email it to you
Right.
because when you go to YouTube, it's hard to find us. But I'll
Correct.
send this so then you have to-
But and for anybody who's listening out there, we're giving some specific advice to one person, but the broad advice is, it's not a just cause eviction just because a property's changed hands.
Okay.
If an owner who's purchased a property wants to live in the unit, that is a reason that they can give notice, not however, when there's vacant. In other words, if it's a triplex and there's no vacant unit, they can kind of have the right to select a unit, to say, I wanna live there, I want my mom to live there.
Okay.
But there's also even rules on that, and usually it's last one in is first one out, not.
At the end of the day, you don't want anything less than the minimum amount of money and relocation services as required by law. You may be able to negotiate something more than that, but you don't want to take anything less than the minimum. And so that's why it's really important to talk to people who know about this stuff.
Okay, and just remind the person as well, that since he's a realtor and he's licensed in the state of California, he should know better.
Yeah, you should know better.
He should know better, but I did see that one of the notices that was posted that you'd sent us a picture
Yes.
of, did say in some cities.
Yes,
There's more
it's
room.
it's very intricate saying,
Right.
the verbiage that was used in the
Right.
post, it was very,
Right. So our city definitely has these regulations.
yes.
Okay, all right. And if you stay till after the meeting, a little more, but we must move on in the official part of the meeting. Okay, item 6. Follow up to previous cases, ENS, which is the notification system, and old business, any old business. So I will say, and remember, I am recused, so I can only make an announcement. So 1848 South Gramercy, remember that one? That's the proposed 8-story building at 1848 South Gramercy. City Council had acted last fall to reject the categorical exemption and make a finding, this very long piece of paper, but the end of the finding was that the project is not eligible for a categorical exemption. So far, so good. We all received a notice that there will be a planning commission hearing on May 22nd. And what it says is that it's remanded to, the city council remanded it to the planning commission. And what's on the agenda is that there will be new evidence presented. Didn't say by whom. And the appellant, that would be me, has been emailing me. It's like, am I supposed to be presenting new evidence? And that it's still a categorical exception, which means we're in a circle, and the hearings in the valley.
Oh, wow. So could the new evidence have something to do with the noise? There were a couple of specific things that you.
We're kind of, who's presenting new evidence? Are you expecting?
Or could this guy be presenting new evidence? We don't know.
Well, I mean, and since it's in the redevelopment plan area and in the interim time, the California Supreme Court has ruled that if a project is not compatible and consistent with the redevelopment plan, it cannot have a categorical exemption. And that was against the city of Los Angeles.
So maybe that's what it is.
Well, that would make it worse. So it shouldn't. I mean, that does make the situation worse for the project, not for the appellant. So it makes no sense that the notice still has categorical exemption as the first item on it for the planning commission to consider, because the city council has already voted it can't be done. So that's all I know, other than 8:30 in the morning in the valley. Thank you.
So with UNNC,
we don't even know if it's hybrid or not.
But will we be making a statement, or are we?
I imagine. Yes.
Okay.
But not.
Right. So Steve, maybe we can talk offline about.
Has it been John who's been?
Is John doing it?
I can't imagine he's gonna take a day off from his business with 100 architects and go to the valley and twiddle his thumb.
Are we just?
He could probably write something.
Okay, and then we'll figure out from there. Maybe we'll just submit it, or we can do it.
Right. Right, because we don't even have the answer. Remember, it's a brand new planning commission. There's only 2 carryovers from before, from Mayor Bass's planet. We don't even know if all of the hundreds and hundreds of pages that were in the commission's file the last time they heard it has been moved forward. I know.
They will, Laura. Sometimes I see those files and they have 800 pages. Because each time it comes up, they have to add.
Right,
the old
but
stuff.
what I'm saying is, we have not gotten any responses
Okay.
from either the commission secretary or the planner.
Okay.
So it's one of those, because if we have to resubmit everything, all the material is due by Monday next, with no answers to any of these questions.
Okay. Oh.
I know. Well, UNNC, if they're gonna write a new letter, it's not due by Monday.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't be writing more than 10 pages.
No, right. And I don't know if we would just submit what we've already written. Or do we have to go back to governing board?
I don't think you have to go back to governing board, but I'm gonna say I don't remember, but it's probably because I never read it. What did UNNC vote on related? Don't answer this. You just say
I have to go back and look.
It would depend on if UNNC had made a position on the categorical exemption specifically based on the appeal that went to city council, and I certainly don't.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Okay. And then Steve, you don't want to talk about that oil thing from?
Oh no, he did, I think.
I don't really have any. I wasn't at the hearing.
No, but we both read. I mean, Teresa just emailed Steve and I saying, should UNNC have made a comment?
I just happened to be there for another reason, and and
you saw Richard Parks and Grace and others.
Yes, I was. Someone wanted to understand how things worked at city council, and I said, okay, I'll meet you and we'll go. I was picking. I thought I was picking a hearing that didn't have much going on. because there was government operations, there was a lot of stuff going on. I said, let's just go in here. And then I looked at the agenda and I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I see Richard and I see some other people for petroleum, and then I see Grace. She said, oh yeah, you're here to speak on agenda item 7. It's like, oh my gosh, no. But I was frustrated because not Mid-City, but Pico, one of the other neighborhood
Pico
councils.
Robertson
Pico
area.
Robertson, they had submitted a CIS and one other neighborhood council. And I thought, why the hell did we-
CIS is community impact
Oh,
statement.
yeah, sorry. So I was just a little frustrated that we didn't do that, but you know, I don't know what happened. They went behind closed doors and then that's when we left.
So Steve, you gave us a bit of an explanation in the email, and so maybe
Yeah.
give us
Yeah,
what was this
so-
about?
Try to give it really short, though. Essentially,
Very short.
3 years ago, the city passed new ordinances trying to stop oil production within the city limits. Oil companies got together and sued, and the city lost big time. And the court settlement was that the city had to rescind all those ordinances that they took 5 years to create. So those ordinances are null and void by court order, but they haven't rescinded them. And so the old ordinance hasn't been put back into place. So at this point, there's really no overriding ordinances in place to police oil production in the city. So my assumption is at this hearing and behind closed doors, the city attorney said, what are you guys doing? You know, we have this settlement with the court. You can't be chasing this down. We're just going to get sued again. And the letter that Teresa shared with me is clearly one of the city attorney outlining what the court's position was and what the settlement was. And that I think that this is one of those PR things where some people in the community think if they keep pushing the same agenda over and over and over again, somehow it's going to change the decision. Rather than pushing on how to close oil production sites in the way that has proven effective in the past, they keep trying to do these end runs and they keep getting busted by the courts. That's my personal position.
Right. I did see in the item 7 something about not using the acid process.
Acidization is a standard way of cleaning oil wells.
That was, all of the public comments were about that.
Right, so.
It's totally standard practice across the country.
Right.
I don't
So-
see how the city is going to be able to outlaw that without losing another court case.
So my point I'm gonna make is that hence our problem. We have diverse opinions. We've got stakeholders and board members who would like to also get rid of acidization, is that what it was? And we have others, Chris, Steve, Michael Solomon, I mean, the scientists are saying, well, you want your oil wells to be kind of clean, and this is the way it's done. And then there is the true problem, maybe, of how safe is the transportation system bringing the acid to the sites. But that's not the same thing as not being able to use it. I mean, that, you know, making it safer in transport might be a proper goal. But we don't, but UNNC never adopted a position because our opinions are all over the place.
But I would say that we most certainly hold the opinion that having oil wells near a school is, near homes too, is bad. And that we would like to close it down.
Well, we would like them to close. I think we
Yes.
have a position. I don't know that we have the position, we want to close it down. I mean, what's that?
No, we would like for it to be closed.
Right.
Yeah, not us
Passive
necessarily to do it, yes. But the reason, Katie Yaroslavsky represents the area on Pico that has the other
Correct. And that's the
nearby.
one that Michael's very involved with now, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she is the who brought this motion forth. So it could be a response to community outrage.
Sure.
Could
Be she's a new council
Yes.
member and doesn't know how many years have we been doing this?
but you know,
15 years.
Yeah, no, trying to get ordinances that
So-
actually work to regulate it.
yeah, but I'm just
There are a
saying
lot
Steve,
of-
that I don't think that it's wrong for her as a new council member to bring it up.
No.
One of the people that spoke had a miscarriage and she lives near the tall one on Pico. And she, implied that the acidization and the fumes that come from that, because it did destroy a lot of the vegetation around there, that somehow that may have affected her ability to conceive or whatever. So I don't just want to say that Katie Yaroslavsky, I think it's courageous for a city council person to bring it up when they know what the legal standing is, but to still bring it forth. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just hope the city attorney on 1848 Gramercy pays attention to what the Supreme Court did say, however, in that case. So I know I digress, but it's like we have stubborn city attorneys too. So okay, well
I just want to make one last comment. I think Teresa's right. No one wants oil production facilities next to schools, next to AIDS hospice centers, next to churches, next to homes, next to all kinds of things, right? But that's been the nature of Los Angeles since at least the 1950s, if not the 1940s. And that's how Los Angeles was built. And that's how West Adams was built. So a lot of it is oil money. Regardless of all that, I think the responsible thing for council people to do is work to advance that cause and not try to address it in ways that are non-productive, that only look like they're being productive. And I think what Katie is doing is being performative rather than really action oriented.
okay. Okay. Any other updates? What is this item? Follow-ups? Nothing. Okay. Young, I know, you were gonna give us an update. I bet you that project's under construction, right?
Yeah, you know what? I was listening to you. What came to my mind, two things. Actually, oil thing. I used to work in the building on Wilshire. They had oil drums in the basement where the parking places, and they were like oil was coming out all the time. The county museum.
That's why they call it the tar pits.
Yeah, it's oil everywhere. And my aunt had a property on Pico. She was collecting money from the government because she's sitting on top of the oil field. We don't know that, right? Pico.
Well, that's the reason why there's so many diverse opinions.
Yeah, so it's like how you prevent that, right? It's there. And the second thing was that about the people being evicted. It was a sad story. I actually got a text message 2 nights ago. This woman was getting evicted. She's supposed to go to court this morning because new landlord is emptying out people, right? This is a senior citizen. She's behind the rent, unfortunately. And I did help her out 3-4 months ago. And she's behind again. She was asking for some more money. And I said, I gave her 2 months rent before. So I said, I'm sorry, I'm not the rich, right? But I'm sorry, I cannot help. And I was about to cry. That's another thing. By the way, I'm a landlord too. I have a small rental property. But when I hear that, and then my next door people lost a house to foreclosure, and this investors came and swooped it up real cheap. It's like a half the price, the market price, basically, right? I found out from other neighbor. And they want to build this multi-story building, right? And they already put out the demolition notice. And fortunately, they took it off for whatever reason. And I'm praying every day they don't go down, and evict. They already displaced so many people.
Right.
And then they're gonna, do whatever people are living there, either security people or not. And I just don't want them to demolish this livable housing. livable housing, good,
Right.
enough for people to live. And I found out again, these same owners, new owners, own the other property that was already demolished, corner of Exposition and Buckingham. And they already displaced like a dozen people because there were like how many units? And another two-story building was next to it. It's empty except one woman. She's just sitting in it. So they couldn't demolish it. Just
Right.
it breaks my heart.
Yeah, this is
I'm,
happening.
I'm
Yeah.
asking city, maybe put a moratorium on this demolitions of the good livable housing until they get complete approval to build and get the finance in place, That empty lot was sitting there for 2 years. I think it's 2 years almost.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? It's just a ethical issue,
It is an ethical issue. Okay, and it's a serious issue, and maybe we have a new board coming in on July 1st or thereabouts, but you knew half again, the board. And maybe sometime after that, we can have a meeting devoted to this topic.
Yeah, also I found out this the developers are having a few what do you call it? Suits, lawsuits against them. And I don't know what it is. That's another neighbor dug out the information. So
Right.
it's all like held up, right? Meanwhile, people do not live there, right? Because
Right.
how
Okay, so let's consider doing this as an agenda item, a whole session talking about, demolitions and tenant evictions and, all of that. Because I certainly have at least one to talk about myself that's different than these, but for tonight, it's not, it's a big discussion.
Young, in the chat, for the lady who you were helping and you gave her 2 months money for rent, there's
I put the name of the organization in the chat.
look in the chat and have her.
You know what? Another thing is that this older woman, when I said, I don't know that well, but I just saw it and said, I need to help you. And then she said, can I write a check? I could write a check right away and drive it there to a place. And she said, you know what? When she talked to the lawyer of the new owners, she had to deliver the check to their home office in Century City. And by the next, by 13 hours, like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, imagine that stress. This.
Well, that's why I put the email in, not the email, the organization that can help her. Look in the chat. There's an organization that with lawyers that are free that can maybe help her in her situation.
She had to go to court this morning. I had to.
Oh,
I was gone all day. Actually, I was afraid to get back to her because I felt so guilty, that kind of thing. So it's too much for my brain too.
Okay, all right, thank you, yeah, but we have to end the meeting now.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
But we'll put this on an agenda in the summertime sometime after July 1st. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna adjourn this meeting now. I'm gonna turn off the YouTube first, right?